Hey legends, quick tutorial video for us to understand and convert currencies. So let's get into it. Okay, so our learning intention and success criteria, as always, we're going to start with that. So for our lesson, we're going to learn how to read and convert currencies to make smart online purchasing decisions. And we're going to have you guys pause this video at times to complete certain activities, and I'll let you know when that's going to happen. But essentially, I'm going to talk you through the learning elements. Our success criteria, which is how we know if we've actually learned that thing, is we're going to be able to read an exchange rate. So when you see that, to be able to read what that means. We're going to learn where to find the most recent currency exchange rates. We're going to use the exchange rate to determine or figure out how much a purchase in Australian dollars will be in US dollars, and also the other way around of we're going to use the exchange rate to determine how much a purchase in US dollars will be in Australian dollars. And we're going to use like a fake transaction to figure that out. And then most importantly, we're going to select the best exchange rate to save money. All right, so let's get into it. Why do we even need exchange rates? Well, let's just say you wanted to buy a pair of shoes online and you're getting those shoes from the US. Okay, easy. You guys, if you haven't already been shopping online, will be wanting to do this at some point. So when you want to buy those shoes and come over to Australia, what are you going to pay with? Well, you've got Australian dollars in your wallet or in your bank account. So when you go to buy those shoes, you've only got Australian dollars to pay with. And my question to you is, does the US accept Australian currency? And well, the answer is no, because that Australian money is no good in America. So the shoe company that makes those shoes can't use Australian currency to pay their wages or to buy food for their family or anything like that. They need American dollars. And so there's a problem here. So what do we do when we have this problem? Well, we have this thing called currency exchange. And there's a little booth down here. There's one at the plaza that you might have seen just outside the Coles. And what that is either in a physical space, like the one outside the Coles, or the one that is, online. You can just do it online when you just make an online purchase. Is you take your take your Australian currency and you exchange or swap it for another currency so you can then pay that to the particular company overseas. So what does that process look like? Well, you take your Australian dollars to the currency exchange and you say, I want to give my Australian dollars or sell my Australian dollars. And in return, I want you to give me the American dollars. Okay, so you've given your Australian dollars over and now you have bought American dollars. And how many American dollars you get is dependent on what the exchange rate is, or the rate in which currencies are swapped or exchanged. And now that you have that American currency in your hand, well, now you can send that to the company that you bought the shoes from. And then what do you get in return? Well, you get those lovely shoes. Everybody's happy. And then that American company can take those American dollars and spend it in their economy. Now, just a little bit of an upfront. In Australia, we have what's called Australian dollars, and America has American dollars. So they both have the word dollars, but it's really, really important that they are different currencies. You need to understand they are different currencies. They might as well be called something else and not dollars, but they are. Okay, so that's why we need exchange rates. And now we're going to go into, well, how do they actually work? All right, so to start with, we're just going to assume that you have one Australian dollar in your possession. You've got one coin. And you go to that exchange rate, the exchange kiosk at the plaza, and you want to figure out how many American dollars you can get for that one Australian dollar. Okay, so the notation of AUD is going to mean Australian dollar, AUD. So whenever you see AUD, that means Australian dollar. Whenever you see USD, that means United States dollar. Different currencies. Okay, so here whenever you hear about currencies in Australia, you'll hear the Australian dollar is buying US cents. So you're always going to hear it in Australia from this way, as if you have one Australian dollar and you take that to the currency exchange. How much American money do you get? and it's usually in cents. It's usually less than $1 in American dollars. Let's see how this works. Okay, so you've got $1 Australian. If it was to equal to $1 US, that means they are worth the same amount. That means if you take that $1 into the currency exchange, $1 Australian, you're going to get $1 American back. So that's when it says 1 AUD equals 1 USD, that's what it means. Okay, so if they were worth the same, I have a question for you. How much would an Australian need to pay in Australian dollars if that pair of shoes that you liked cost 100 American dollars? So I want you to pause the video here and have a think about what your answer is going to be. And I'm going to reveal the answer in 3 seconds. And the answer is 100 Australian dollars. Okay, so because they are worth equal amount, a pair of shoes that is 100 American dollars is going to cost 100 Australian dollars because the currency exchange rate is the same. Now, it's not often like this though, okay? But we'll keep on with another slightly more advanced question. If the exchange rate is the same, $1 Australian equaling $1 American, how much would an Australian need to pay if they bought 2 pairs from America, with each pair costing 100 US dollars? Pause the video and have a think of your answer. And the answer here would be 200 Australian dollars. And the Australian dollars is important. You can't just say 200. 200 which? American or Australian? And here we're trying to find what the Australian one is. Now we're going to get tricky. Okay, so you still got that $1 Australian that you're going into the exchange kiosk with to see how many American you get. Except this time, the currency is for every $1 Australian that you have, it's only going to get you 50 US cents or half a United States dollar. So what does this mean? Well, this means that $1 Australian is only going to get you 50 cents. So if we go $1 Australian, yeah, is only going to get you 50 cents of American money. Is that good when you shop online? And well, the answer is no. Because if that pair of shoes that you're going to buy was costing 100 American dollars, how many Australian dollars do you need when this is worth double the rate? Let's do an example. Whoops. Okay, so let's go through this as an example. If you want to buy that pair of shoes that's 100 American dollars, how many Australian dollars are you going to need? And the hint, you're going to need 2 Australian dollars for every 1 American dollar. Let's look at this again. You've got $1 Australian, pretend it's like a bar. Yep. $1 Australian only gets you 50 cents in America. So how many Australian dollars do you need just to get to $1 American? Well, you're going to need 2 of these, aren't you? Just to get to $1 Australian. So my question to you, now with the exchange rate of $1 Australian equaling 50 US cents, you want to buy that 1 pair of shoes for $100 American, how many Australian dollars do you need? Pause the video here, check your answer, and I'll give you the answer in 3 seconds. Don't just skip, don't not stop the video. It's important you learn this stuff. So pause the video until you're confident with your answer. And the answer is 200 Australian dollars. Do you get that right? This is double what they cost before because we need more Australian dollars. Yeah, the Australian dollar here is weaker because before it was getting 1 whole American dollar, now it's only getting half American dollar. So we need lots more of our Australian dollars for the American. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the calculation. You're going to need a calculator for this, so just get your phone out, or if you have a calculator at home, that's great. Don't be scared by the maths. Here we go. Whoops. Don't worry about that down the bottom, we'll get to it. Okay, $1 Australian gets you $1 US. So we're going to go back to the start, okay? But as I said here, we haven't been at this level for some time. If $1 Australian gets you 50 cents, here's how you work out you needing 2 to get $1 USD worth of stuff. Okay, So here's the formula, if you like, and it's not really a formula, but it's just more the layout of how you figure it out. So here we've got the home currency divided by the foreign currency. Now, what did I say the Australian, how many dollars Australian did you take into the foreign exchange? Well, it was 1, wasn't it? So when you have a look down here, you put 1 on the left-hand side, and then you divide by 50 cents, which is what the American one was. So Australian divided by USD. And then it's that number, that answer, which you multiply against the overseas currency. In this case, it was 100 US dollars, wasn't it? So 2 times the US currency gives you your 200 answer. I'm going to keep this formula on the following screen so you can have it there for when you do your little test. Okay, so I'm going to get you guys to do an activity now. There's a Word document on Sector, or a PDF, I can't remember which. Oh no, it's a doc. It's called Currency Conversion Assessment Doc. You'll see there is a table there where you've got different currency exchange rates, and you've got different American prices, and then you've got to calculate how what that is in Australian dollars. Okay. Now remember that formula that we used in this instance. So you're taking the Australian, how many Australian dollars it is, which is 1, and you're dividing it against that American exchange rate. That answer you multiply by the American price. Feel free to rewind the video and write those 2 steps down, because the answer to those 2 steps will get you your answer. Okay. So complete activity 1, which is the first table for conversions. Pause this video, go to that activity, and when you're done, you can come back. Okay. Now let's flip the script. So what we did before, we knew what the thing we wanted to buy was in American dollars, but now we're going to do, okay, let's flip it around. Let's say you know how much something is in Australian dollars, and you need to know how much American dollars that's going to be. Okay, so it's kind of flipping what we just did. And a reason you might want to do this is, well, we've just done our trip to Bali without the work we've done in class. In Bali, they use their own currency. Well, let's say you were going for a trip to the US, and you had $1,000 spending money, and you wanted to figure out, well, how much American currency will that actually get me? The process is the same here, okay? It's just where you put things that is different. And this last point on the slide here is really, really important. Whichever currency you want to know, and have a think about which one in this scenario we don't know. And we do know the Australian here, if you have a look, because we're taking in 1,000 Australian dollars. We want to know how much we're going to get in American. We don't know the American, so the American exchange rate in our calculation goes first in the equation. Okay, so just look at the left-hand side here. This is what we had before. Yeah, we had the home currency divided by the foreign currency. Okay, because we didn't know what the price in Australian dollars was, and so that's why it went first. But now we're going to see on the right-hand side here, it's going to be foreign currency exchange rate divided by home currency exchange rate, because we don't know how much it's going to be in US dollars, and so that's the one that goes first. Just flick your eyes at those 2 calculations. Feel free to pause the video if you want and see how they're different. See, in the first one, Australian was first, the number 1, because we knew that we didn't know how much the shoes were going to be in Australian dollars, so it went first. In the second example here, the US currency rate goes first because we don't know how much our $1,000 is going to be once we convert it into American dollars. So here, 50 cents divided by 1 gives you 50 cents. And then so that's what you multiply with the currency you know. So here, we multiply this by $1,000. And so when you put in your $1,000 at the travel agent kiosk, when the exchange rate is this, how much American currency do you get? It's $500. Because it's $1,000 Australian multiplied by the answer to this equation, 0.5. All right, so this is going to be the end of the first video. all right, because the software I have limits it to 15 minutes. So once you're happy with this, move on to video 2.